Going on, Russell Wayne and the Main Event 365 Network. This is Jason Kabinda from the Detroit Lions, here to give y'all a shout out, man. We appreciate all the support, man. Know you guys are big fans. Know that you guys are rooting for us to take the North this year, and we're gonna do just that, man. Appreciate you guys so much. Just want to give y'all a shout out. You have a great day.
I think maybe the intro's too long.
I don't know, but we're live.
Well, that was the best pass Aaron Rodgers threw all year right there. See that? Well, this is my favorite part.
All right.
Love me some Leaf.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Main Event 365. Tonight, it's a very special broadcast. We are doing our mock draft 2.0 with our very special guest headliner panel we have tonight, Mr. Greg Rice over on the West Coast representing the Honolulu and Blue. How are you tonight, Greg?
I'm blessed tonight, gentlemen.
Yeah, you're looking good, my friend. Down in the bottom right corner, we've got the maestro, Russell Wayne, our producer. How are you tonight, Russ?
I've been better, but I'm not going to talk about it.
And now, like the Hollywood squares over here in the left, I'll take Will Rock for the block. It's Will Rock from the Rocked On Detroit Lions Network. How are you tonight, Will? Welcome to the program.
That's the best take he's ever had.
You're on mute, Will.
Hey, you're on mute, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Hey, there we are. So, hey,
All
thanks for
right.
having me on, guys.
Stick to writing columns, Will. No, just kidding. Will, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for having me on again tonight. And I'm rocked on as always. So let's get it in.
Right on.
That's right.
All right. So here it is. It is the mock draft 2.0 main event style. And this is all leading up to our live draft special, which will be on April 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We will be coming live from the Lions Den in a secret location in the state of Michigan, broadcasting from the draft party in the Lions Den. We're going to give you analysis, special guests, and all that. But right now, it's time for mock draft 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. So tonight, guys, what we're going to do is we are going to play GM for each team in the draft order. And since it's the main event, and my name is Main Event Mike, I'm going to take the first pick with the Carolina Panthers, of course, who traded up with the Chicago Bears to get the number one pick, obviously to get a quarterback. So before I make my pick, I kind of want to gauge the panel here. Are you thinking quarterback, Greg Rice, here for Carolina? That's why they moved up, right? Obviously.
Absolutely. At this point, it's got to be quarterback.
And Ross, you think it's quarterback too?
I do.
Will Rock, you think it's quarterback?
I think 100% it's quarterback.
Okay. So we got Bryce Young, we got CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker. Let's not leave Hendon Hooker out of the conversation like so many people are doing these days. He's rated number 3 quarterback on Mel Kiper's board. He's rated 3rd quarterback on Todd McShay's board. He's been wowing people at the combine. So Who do you guys like here? Russell Wayne, what do you think? Who's Carolina go with? I know, Russell Wayne, you think they're coming for Anthony Richardson at 1.
I know. Are you gonna? I can answer my own question.
No.
I know. So yes, I do believe that they're gonna go with the physical freak, and I mean he's the one to me that separates himself from a skill set. All of the other guys are just kind of like, they felt like the same guy. That's why I didn't think anybody would trade up to get the pick. So I think that they're going to go with the home run skill set, because if they hit on that pick, he could be, a top at the position.
Right. Well, they've got Andy Dalton there in Carolina. Will Rock, what quarterback you think that Carolina would be looking at here?
I like the Richardson pick because there's so much assimilation between him and Cam Newton, but I think Carolina goes with CJ Stroud. I have CJ Stroud as my number 1 overall quarterback in this draft, not named Hendon Hooker. If Hooker wasn't injured, it would be Hendon Hooker all day, but I'm going CJ Stroud number 1 to Carolina.
It's a good pick. I think that's where I'm leaning. Greg, what do you think? CJ Stroud here?
Me personally, you guys, look, the quarterback situation was really up in the air up until the Ohio State versus Georgia game. I think CJ Stroud shows that he has that it factor. I think he's the most polished, most consistent quarterback, the one with the least risk. So CJ Stroud for me.
It wouldn't surprise me if Bryce Young goes here, especially when you think that Frank Reich has had a different quarterback to start out the season for the last, 3-4 years in Indianapolis. He had a starting quarterback. So I don't think he's looking for Anthony Richardson, a project, and have to play Andy Dalton. I think they need the most game-ready quarterback in Carolina, and that's what they moved up to get. And that could be Bryce Young. But I have to agree that C.J. Stroud showed out in the Georgia game. He made some sideline throws. The whole arm was on display, and he did really well at the combine. So I think that's the pick, Russ. We got the music. The pick is in, and the Carolina Panthers select C.J. Stroud with the number 1 overall pick. And that puts Greg Rice on the clock with the Houston Texans. Take it away, Greg.
Oh, so right now I'm looking at, to me, the best blue chip collar prospect in Will Anderson. That Houston Texas front 7 is absolutely anemic when it comes to pass rush, or essentially their linebacking core too. But they really need a quarterback, and those fans have deserved a quarterback. We all know the situation that went down with Deshaun Watson and what they've had to plug and play. I think I'm going to have to go with Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, I would agree with that pick. What do you guys think, Russ?
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going the quarterback, and Bryce Young minus the height. I mean, if he didn't have the height thing, he would be a slam dunk number 1 pick. So, yeah, I'm good with Bryce Young.
Do you think the Texans will go Bryce Young at 2, Will?
Yeah, I think that I think that the Texans are definitely going to take a quarterback of the future. However, I think Bryce Young slips in this draft just because of the question marks on his height. I think the Texans, they reach for the AR and they take Richardson at number 2.
Wow, and they play another year with Davis Mills?
I think they have to. They've got to have somebody on that roster that's going to help back up everybody and secure the position. So
wow, now that would be that is something I haven't heard anyone suggest or even seen it mocked, that Houston might take Anthony Richardson. It's your pick, Greg. You're the Houston Texans at 2. What's the pick?
For me personally, I think the safe pick is Bryce Young, even though Will does bring up a good point, as well as them. AR probably has a lot higher of a ceiling. Got to like the physical measurements, but if you're Houston at this point, give them something that's at least kind of for sure at quarterback, Bryce Young.
There it is. Where's the music? Yeah. So there's your pick at number 2. The Houston Texans select Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. Brings us to the 3rd pick in the draft, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. I think we're all in agreement that this pick is super valuable, and there's going to be some team jumping up to snag this pick from the Arizona Cardinals, right? Tennessee, Washington, New Orleans. One of these teams are going to make a play for it. But under our format tonight, Will Rock, you are on the clock as the Arizona Cardinals. What are you looking at with the 3rd pick?
Well, the first quarterbacks are off the board here. So I think the Cardinals are set at quarterback for this season. They're going to take Will Anderson, defensive end / defensive tackle, all day long. Book it.
Yeah, Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama. Got to be the pick there at Arizona. Their defense needs a ton of help, especially after they're losing Chandler Jones, the retirement of J.J. Watt. They lost Byron Murphy. They lost so many pieces on defense. Even if they do trade back, they've got to go to the defensive side of the ball for this first pick. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I think that, Anderson, he's shored up a lot of those concerns about his size, at the combine. He's definitely an explosive and an impactful player, down the edge. So he racked up over 200 pressures in 3 seasons at Alabama. He's going to be a game changer for that team this season.
Yeah, for sure. A game record. Let's make the pick.
Yep, I definitely. I had already put it in there. I'm sorry. I was pretty much thinking that was a slam dunk pick anyway.
Arizona Cardinals select Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama. And that puts you on the clock, Russell Wayne, at number 4. You are Jim Irsay. You are eating peanut butter in your underwear at 3 a.m. because you are a wackadoodle. Jim Irsay, what is the pick for number 4, Indianapolis Colts?
Oh man, I'm looking at I think that they're definitely going to be going quarterback when you're looking at this. I think there is a big chance, because we're not doing the trades. It doesn't mean there isn't going to be a trade. I think there's a good chance that you might see quarterback go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, but I'm looking at this Indianapolis Colts team. They're sick of the quarterback carousel, and the only even close to pro ready quarterback that is left is Will Levis. I don't think that they're going to take a chance on the project. I think they're going to go with a pro style type of quarterback, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to select Will Levis at number 4.
So Shane Steichen coming over from Philadelphia. He's got Gardner Minshew over there. They're not in any really hurry. They could play the whole year with Gardner Minshew. They got Dennis Ellinger as a backup quarterback who the fans really like out there. I think Will Levis is a good pick here, but I could also see Indy taking Anthony Richardson. Will, what do you think? Will Levis at Indy at 4?
So we've got Stroud, Young, Anderson off the board, and Russell's going with Will Levis. Here's my issue with that. They've got Gardner Minshew to get him through this season and to see where they're going to end up next year. I don't think Indianapolis wants to win a whole lot of ball games this year. They want to get a higher pick again next year. I think that they're going to go with defense, and they're going to take the risk and go with Jalen Carter. Even though I think Jalen Carter is going to slip, they're potentially going to take Jalen Carter there at 4.
He's got Jalen Carter going to Indianapolis. Greg Rice, how do you like Russ's pick there of taking Will Levis to Indianapolis?
I like it. I think at this point, Levis is a little bit more polished than Richardson. I think it's kind of the safer pick. And as everyone just alluded to, Indianapolis, since Andrew Luck's sudden retirement, they've been looking for an answer there. They've been getting all these guys kind of over the hill, past their prime. And I think they're looking for the next best thing and as fast as possible. I agree with the Levis pick, even though Jalen Carter next to DeForest Buckner would be absolutely disastrous for any offensive line to match up against.
So let us know what you guys think. If you're out there watching, put it in the comments. Tell us we're crazy. Tell us our opinions are full of it. Give us your own opinion if you've got something better. What do you think of these picks? So far, I think we're pretty spot on, guys. I think, of course, we never know what's going to happen, but all these picks seem to make sense. I have Indianapolis taking Anthony Richardson because I think that the upside, Irsay just knows that is a lottery ticket waiting to happen if he can pull it off. And Gardner Minshew, I know they feel pretty secure with him. Whether that's warranted or not, I don't know. But I do know that they're out there in Indy. They're very comfortable him coming over with the coach, and he already knows the offense. So that puts us on the clock at 5 with the Seattle Seahawks, and that puts me on the clock. Are we going to do the pick? Is the pick in?
Yeah.
You got to be quicker on the button, my friend.
I didn't know that you were going to go to the next pick before I made my pick.
Bad.
I'll get on the button the next time. But no, I think that Will Levis, I watched him throw it, and he makes 60-yard throws look like screen passes. The dude he's got unmatched arm talent. I haven't seen anything like it since Justin Herbert. So I mean, I think that he is franchise quarterback. So I am going to go with Will Levis with the pick at number 4.
That's scary. So scary. Guy had eight touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 8 SEC games. That's not good numbers.
You know, and I was just going to throw something at you, Mike. I think that you should go around to the 3 people first and let them make their suggestion, and then you make your pick based off of your information instead of you making your pick and everybody telling you you're wrong, and then you making the pick anyway.
Right.
So I got a question here. Did you just pick Will Levis twice? Where are we at here?
No, Will Levis went to
He went to Indy.
I gave him the Indy. We're at pick 5 right now.
And I'm on the clock as Seattle.
Okay,
now
you didn't make your pick yet. Okay.
Right, because I'm the oldest one here, so I'm Pete Carroll.
I got you. I thought I heard Will
71
Levis
years
get
old,
popped
Pete
up
Carroll.
again.
John Schneider, the GM out in Seattle, they've had a great offseason. I've been studying what Seattle's done. They've been building up both sides of the ball, making shrewd moves. So I'll kick it around to you guys, and then I'll make the pick like Russ said. Will, what do you think Seattle should do here at 5?
All right, Stroud, Young, Anderson, Levis are gone. You know, they're in a tricky spot, but Seattle loves their defensive backfield. I think they're going to reach for a defensive back. I just don't know if it's going to be a safety or a cornerback. But given that, since we're not doing trades, I'm going to have to go with Tyree Wilson. Only because we're not doing trades at this point. So Tyree Wilson, lock him in Seattle for me.
I like that pick. I think you could also take Jalen Carter. What do you think of that pick, Greg?
I absolutely agree with Will 100% on this. So, I've talked with you guys with the signing of Draymond Jones. Pete Carroll just isn't really looking for a pass rusher in that defensive tackle spot. He seems set with just having just run stuffers there. And you look at Tyree Wilson, and you can't help but get like this hybrid of what Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill were. This Tyree Wilson kid has Pete Carroll written all over him. With that boosted up front 7 with them bringing in Devin Bush as well as B Wags back, I think Tyree Wilson is just a natural selection there.
I like it.
Right on.
All right. What do you think of that pick, Russ? You good with it?
Oh, I'm definitely good. I mean, I think when you look at like Jalen Carter, I think that would be a possibility at that spot, because I think if that Jalen Carter, Pete Carroll could handle that, somebody that may have some character issues. And I wouldn't think that Anthony Richardson would be off the board right there because of the way that Geno Smith's contract went. And like you said, you want somebody that you can develop. Somebody that can sit for a year. You could definitely sit for a year in Seattle because that's kind of a bonus pick for them. But I definitely like the pick of Tyree Wilson for sure. I mean, I have no issues with that too. You can't go wrong getting
all right,
pass
let's
rushers.
make it.
So it is Tyree Wilson. Is that I was quicker that time, wasn't I?
The pick is in. Seattle Seahawks select Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, defensive end rush. They can't decide if this guy's a linebacker or a rusher. You go to different media outlets, they have him listed with a different designation. So that now puts our beloved Detroit Lions on the clock at number 6. And I think we're going to let this be a group decision. I personally would be all right taking Jalen Carter here. But I don't know what you guys think. What do you think, Greg? What do you like for Detroit at 6?
So look, I brought up the scare comparison of him giving me kind of Nick Fairley, slightly Albert Haynesworth vibes. But look, that was a different staff then with Mayhew and Schwartz. I think if anyone can instill discipline, I love the staff that we have here with Coach Campbell and Brad Holmes. I'd be okay with the Carter pick here, you guys.
Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah. I wanted to put a shout out to Mac, who wrote shout out into the comments, man. So shout out to Mac.
Will, what do you think of Jalen Carter for the Detroit Lions at 6?
Well, I think I've been pretty pretty loud about my distaste for Carter. And like I said earlier, I put him at Indy because we're not doing trade backs right now. I really do think Carter's going to slip. I hope he puts all the stuff behind him that's popped up this offseason. But with my pick for the Detroit Lions, again, because we're not doing trade backs, the Lions are going to have to shore up that cornerback, that defensive back room post 2023. They take Devin Witherspoon, the Spoon, Illinois cornerback.
The Spoon. I like
it.
Devin
like
Witherspoon to Detroit.
He's going to join the Den of Doom.
Yes. I love it.
You good? I'm good with that pick. Christian Gonzalez has the length that I would like, but Devin Witherspoon is a sticky elite athlete too. So, he's really sticky in coverage. He's rated as the number 1 CB on the board. But something about that Christian Gonzalez mix of speed and length makes me kind of lean towards him. Of course, there is the Kirby Joseph connection in the backfield too. Russ, what do you think of Devin Witherspoon at 6 to the Lions?
There's something that's really, really cool that Brad Holmes does. And I love that he does it, like the Sutton and Mosley connection. He loves to pair people together that have, a past history together. They've played with each other. They've grinded with each other before. And Devin Witherspoon is one of those guys. I mean, he played with Kirby Joseph. I really do think that Holmes is going to go with one of those Illinois teammates, whether it would be him or Sidney Brown, in the later rounds.
Or Chase Brown.
My bad. Yeah.
No, you were right. Sidney or Chase.
Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown.
So I was right.
You were right.
Devin Witherspoon, I like that pick, but I wanted to add one thing here with Anthony Richardson still on the board. I don't think that we're going to take him, but I do believe that Brad Holmes is going to be answering some phone calls with this physical freak still on the board.
I hope so.
If it is, and I think this is a ultimate trade down opportunity, but we're not doing that, so I'm good with Witherspoon.
No, for sure. If 3 or 4 quarterbacks go in the top 5, the Lions are sitting in the catbird seat at 6 for that last quarterback for sure.
So there it is.
The trade back opportunity.
If we don't mind to open this kind of back up just for a second.
Sure.
Because we're not trading back, and I will say this, 6 is going to be high to take a cornerback. But given the situation the Lions are in, they're not going to have a choice but to do it at 6 if they can't find a trade partner at 6. But I really like the Lions taking a wide receiver early too, just to do the same thing in the cornerback room you would in the wide receiver room. Build it, put a bunch of young depth there with long rookie contracts and some flyers that can spread the field. So the Lions are in a great position this season, this draft especially. Brad Holmes is going to be playing chess all night long.
Yes, sir. And I love that none of us really know what he's going to do. I mean, we are completely. I mean, he could take Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver, 6'4", out on the edge, or he could trade back. When I say the Lions take Jalen Carter, there's a part of me
Tennessee
that feels
Titans.
dirty and needs a shower. And I doubt very highly that the Lions would take Jalen Carter. In fact, I think they would be more apt to take Anthony Richardson than Jalen Carter, just for the fact that it's a perfect landing spot for Anthony Richardson. Yeah. No pressure to start, sit behind Goff, work with Mark Brunell. A good quarterbacks coach is what he's going to need, is what they're saying. So I think it's actually a great spot for him. I don't really like the Jalen Carter pick. I like the Devin Witherspoon pick better. I think that's what do you think, Russ?
Devin Witherspoon, I think that we're on board with that. I know that Detroit Dom's losing his shit right now. Going, I can't believe he did that. But there it is.
With the 6th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Devin Witherspoon, cornerback from the University of Illinois. The Fighting Illini. We're moving on now to the Las Vegas Raiders, and that puts Greg Rice on the clock, who grew up with a house full of Raiders fans. Isn't that right, Greg?
Yeah, my dad was a diehard Raider fan. My uncle, I've got a lot of Raider fans in my family. Raiders, Niners, and Cowboys.
And then he saw Barry Sanders run, and he said, that's the team for me. He said, I'm in for a lifetime of misery and heartache.
That's it.
Hindsight is 2020, my friend. Barry Sanders versus Bo Jackson. That matchup, you guys. I've never seen a rushing duel like that in my life since.
Wow, I love that story every time. So, who you got? You are Mark Davis with a better haircut. And
thank you.
And you are on the clock now at 7. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo under center. Anthony Richardson is still there. What are you liking here, Greg, at 7?
Ooh, so we're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, and both of these guys have rest in peace Al Davis's name written all over it between Anthony Richardson and Jalen Carter. Pairing Jalen Carter with his potential next to a Max Crosby is so tempting right now. I just, me personally, I'm not sure if Mark Davis is super duper invested in Josh McDaniels. I think this is McDaniels' make or break year. And as much as he wants to take Jalen Carter to shore up that defensive line, Cleve Farrell obviously didn't work out. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson in hopes that he can develop behind what I consider a good role model in Jimmy Garoppolo, despite some of his, dating antics or whatever. No big deal out there at the Buddy Ranch. Do your thing, Jimmy G. But I'm going to pick Anthony Richardson.
Wow. Richardson does seem like a Raider too, doesn't he? I think that'd be the dumbest move if the Raiders do that. Their defense was terrible last year.
I know. Jalen Carter next to Max Crosby sounds amazing, but
can he play linebacker?
They need defense. I can see them taking a corner of Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez at 7 to the Raiders makes a lot of sense to me. It seems like a safer pick, but Jalen Carter and Anthony Richardson seem like they could be good Raiders. Anthony Richardson to the Raiders, that's the pick.
All right, then.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Whoever makes the pick, I'm just going to start slamming them through.
There you go. We're finding our groove, gentlemen.
So for me on the Falcons, that's who we just picked, yeah. I got them taking
Arthur Blank.
I got them taking I got the Falcons taking a tackle. That's what I would think that they would take this season instead of AR. But AR is still a good pick. What do they have for a quarterback this year?
Desmond
Ritter.
Ritter.
It was AR for the Raiders.
Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ritter.
Okay, so you guys are picking. You were picking the Raiders. My bad. All right,
yeah.
Back in
right now we are on. Right now we're picking the Falcons,
and I'm on the Falcons.
And you are on the clock, Will Rock. You are Art Smith and Arthur Blank. Leadership for the Atlanta Falcons at number 8.
All right, so Anthony Richardson's gone. Witherspoon's gone. Wilson is gone.
Atlanta's not looking for a quarterback. They're vested in Desmond Ritter. All reports out of Atlanta, they love the kid.
So they're looking for a wide receiver or an edge rusher, most likely this first pick. And with that said, I think they're going to go receiver. They're going to take Quentin Johnson. All day
love
long.
that pick.
I
dig
that pick.
First wide receiver off the board. I mean, the guy's got a 40.5-inch vertical, 11 foot 2 broad. I mean, the guy brings energy all day. He's got hands of steel, and he can spread the field. So
I love it. I mean, they drafted Drake London. They drafted Drake London last year, who was a jump ball specialist and edge receiver. And Quentin Johnson is kind of that same mold, but even bigger. Maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba is a good pick for Atlanta here, but the pick is Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, TCU. By Will Rock for the Atlanta Falcons.
First wide receiver off the board.
And that puts Russ Wayne on the clock with the Chicago Bears. Russ, you are Ryan Poles, and you are on the clock at number 9 with the Bears.
Bears. I can't believe I'm going to really make Ken Doby really mad here. But I mean, Jalen Carter is tempting for the Bears right here because, they just need talent everywhere. But Justin Fields is going to be dead if they don't get this guy some help. And I know that they believe in a couple of the offensive linemen that they have over there in Chicago. But, I mean, you go with one of these tackles. I'm going to go with Peter Skoronski from Northwestern for this pick.
Love it. Great pick.
I have heard a few experts who say he's got short arms and that he'll probably end up being a guard in the NFL. That he plays tackle in college, but he's probably going to end up being a guard. Have you heard anything about Skoronski there, Will?
I haven't heard of anything like that. The only thing that I've heard, he's going to be able to anchor at a tackle. As far as his arm length, that's a little interesting to me. I don't know why I haven't picked that up yet in the chatter.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. I mean,
now I'm looking.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean,
I can't see any of that right now.
Well, what it says is like what he can improve very little. Where he wins with his hands, he's a versatile O lineman, and it does say exactly what you had said, Mike, about him being able to be versatile, to be able to move into guard.
Yeah.
And in that first paragraph, it said he had 32.25-inch, very short arms, and they love those tackles to have those long arms for the punch to keep those edge rushers at bay. I like Paris Johnson here, the tackle from Ohio State, who's big with long arms, and he's Justin Fields' buddy from Ohio State. So I think that's a good pick. But the pick is in, and it's Russell Wayne taking Peter Skoronski, who, by the way, is a Chicago kid. So it's a good fit that way. Right from the area there, grew up a Bears fan. Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle from Northwestern to the Chicago Bears at number 9. And that puts me on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Russ, you know where I'm going here, right?
Oh, I do.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles
from you too.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to take Bijan Robinson at number 10. They are going to take a running back at number 10. Why? Because he's a special running back. And they let Miles Sanders go. They didn't sign Ezekiel Elliott. They are saving this spot for the best running back in the draft to add to an already stacked team. They have another pick in the first round where they're going to be able to get a good secondary player, maybe a Brian Branch or something like that to replace CJ Gardner-Johnson. That's the pick. You can sound the bell, buddy. I think Philadelphia Eagles are going to take Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas, at number 10.
Absolutely.
You like that?
I absolutely love that pick. Mike, I was thinking that, when I'm looking at Bijan Robinson and his skill set, and I'm like, there's a couple of teams that he could go to where that it would just light up. One would be Detroit, and the other would be the Philadelphia Eagles. And wow, what a great fit Bijan Robinson would be.
Jalen Hurts running an RPO with Bijan Robinson.
Look at that. Lord. Lord help the league.
And Bijan is going to run you over too. He's somebody that he's not afraid to lay the pipe on somebody.
Yeah.
So he's going to dip that shoulder.
I'm sorry, Will, but lay the pipe is reserved for something else.
Hey,
you're doing great, Will. I felt
you should have heard.
He might do that too when he's leaping over you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can lay the wood to someone, but you can't lay the pipe.
But last night after you signed off, Will, Ken Dobie had a great one. He didn't even mean to, but he was just like, are you talking about post polls or pre polls? And both three times. He's like, what are you living in?
All right, that puts Greg Rice, our West Coast stat master, out there on the West Coast of California on the clock with the Tennessee Titans at number 11. Who you got?
To me, this looks like such a good fit for Christian Gonzalez since there's no trade up, trade down scenarios. Vrabel, he likes his defense. Christian Gonzalez, he has that prototypical size that you want from a corner nowadays. I've just got to go Christian Gonzalez. It seems like such a natural fit, guys.
I love that pick. I love that pick for Tennessee. They're going to need some pass catchers, of course. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a wide receiver at 11, but there are a lot of wide receivers in the second and third round that they could nab up to fortify the team. So there's the pick by Greg Rice. He takes Christian Gonzalez, cornerback from the University of Oregon, to the Tennessee Titans at 11. That puts Will Rock on the clock at Houston. The Houston Texans picking at number 12, Will. They've already got their quarterback, Bryce Young. Who do they take their second first-round pick?
So I think this is an easy one. If they're going to bring in a quarterback with their first pick at number 2, they're going to want to give that quarterback a weapon.
Yeah, there you go.
Johnston's already off the board, so JSN, he's going to the Texans at number 12.
I love it.
Jackson Smith and Jigma to the Houston Texans at 12. I love that pick. But Jordan Addison is that X receiver, right? He's that tall receiver down the sideline. Maybe that's a better fit. Boy, wouldn't it be great if they could get Quentin Johnson at 12? Since Bryce Young is so short and Quentin Johnson is so tall, Bryce would be able to see him from the pocket, maybe. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's the pick to the Houston Texans.
And he is a crazy talented wide receiver.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith and the Jigba, just because he didn't do much last year. The previous year in the bowl game, the guy had over 400 yards receiving.
Yeah, he had 1,600 for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did have a much
insane
better
production.
Yeah, he had a much better 2021 season overall. He did fall off big time, but I don't think that's going to detract from what he's able to do.
Right.
And Ohio State
Exactly.
does put out some great wide receivers. They haven't been able to put out great quarterbacks over the last couple of decades, but they can put out some wide receivers.
Yes, sir.
That 2021 season was prolific for him, though. If he returns back to that form, I think the Houston Texans are off to a good start for a franchise reset with Bryce Young and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that puts the New York Jets, and we have to assume that Aaron Rodgers will be on the Jets at the start of the season. Maybe not on draft day, though, and that might affect some things. Who's on the clock here? Greg, Russell Wayne, you're on the clock, aren't you?
Oh, it's me? All right.
It
Let's
is.
go.
easy.
Let's go. All right.
You got the
So,
New York Jets at 13.
the Jets, Jet, Jets. And you know what? This is a very easy pick, too,
Yep.
because even though Aaron Rodgers won't technically be on the team yet, and they're not allowed to talk about said player not on team, but they do need to protect said player that's not on the team
Yes,
yet.
sir.
So I think that the second offensive tackle comes off the board, and the selection is going to be Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
a true Buckeye like you, aren't you supposed to emphasize the?
I figured you'd like that. The
All
like
right.
it.
So that's the pick. The New York Jets select Paris Johnson, offensive tackle from the
To protect
hairless
Zach
poisonous
Wilson.
nuts.
Yeah.
to protect-
Swear it's for Zach Wilson.
I swear, we have no idea. We're trying to work these things out.
And that
There
puts me on the clock. That puts me. I'm sorry, Russ. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, actually, Leo Lyons says that our clock is way slow, so we probably need to pick up the pace anyway. So, thank you for the comment, Leo. We'll
Thanks,
pick it up
Leo.
for you.
One of the
Duly
best
noted,
buzz
Leo.
right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that puts me on the clock with the New England Patriots. And I'm glad it landed on me because I actually heard an interview with Bill Belichick today, and Bill said, so that leads me
I
to
believe it.
believe. That leads me to believe that the New England Patriots are going to look for some help for Mac Jones. They lost Jacoby Myers, and the best available wide receiver on the board is Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC. So even though no way New England makes that pick, that is my choice for New England to take in this draft. So go ahead and hit the bell. Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC to New England. Okay, Green Bay Packers, Will Rock, you are on the clock.
Yeah,
for
so
the
That just
Wisconsin
sounded like
Death
rain.
Cult.
you
It
know the
sounds
Green
like-
Bay Packers, they're in such a desperate situation right now because they have no idea what's going on because of this Aaron Rodgers thing. It's hard to make a pick for him, but if I'm going to play the GM and I'm going to go the next best player available left on the board, and I'm going to want to shut down the Detroit Lions, I'm going Brian Branch safety.
Yes.
Wow.
Great pick.
They've
Yeah.
got to shut down this air raid offense that Goff and Ben Johnson are about to put together. I don't want them to take the pick, but I think that's what they're going to do if they were given
Me
or
too.
put in this situation.
Great pick, Will.
I could see him taking a defensive tackle as well. Defensive end. Oh, okay, so safety, Brian Branch from Alabama. That's the pick for Green Bay. That puts the Washington Commanders on the clock at 16 for Russell Wayne.
Oh, I love it. We are moving good right there. So I want to put a shout out to Joshua. Sup, Pride. Yep. We got Lions fans up in the house. I'll leave you up there while I'm looking at this pick right here. We got the Washington Commanders on the clock. They need quarterback, guard, center, linebackers. Oh, gosh. Let's look through here and see what we would want to take for them. I mean, I think that there's just value on this board that is undeniable for them. And if they need cornerback, edge, oh my gosh, what do you do? let's look at what linebackers. Is there a linebacker that's worthy to be taken?
Nolan Smith is still on the board. Joey
Smith.
Porter Jr. still on the board.
Yeah, he is considered. I mean, he's the one that ran like the 4.340, wasn't he? Nolan Smith
jumped out of the gym at the combine, and he was hurt all of 2022, but he was a beast in 21.
Yeah, because I mean, nothing else really lines up, but that speed would be really, really good for them right there. So I like that pick for Washington right there, Nolan Smith. That's not too much of a reach, is it? That's only like, yeah,
it's a bit of a reach. But he's a great ball player.
I just don't know who else.
You're looking at somebody that fits. You know, he is somebody that fits. He's just about 10 spots too early, I think.
He was one of my favorite interviews at the combine too. What a great kid! Just an effervescent personality.
100%. He's probably one of the most humble guys I've ever heard do an interview. I mean, just what a wonderful person to have on your team. You know, you talk about a locker room guy. He's going to be it.
Yep. I mean, he was right down there on the sideline for every game, right there cheering the team on and helping the younger guys. So definitely a great pick by the Washington Commanders.
I mean, I'll just throw this out there. I think, sorry to cut you off, Mike. This is where the Hendon Hooker thing starts to get a little interesting now.
Yep.
To me, I'm looking at the Commanders. I'm looking at the Minnesota Vikings post Kirk Cousins, and I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, I know this is a bit of a reach for all three of those teams in the first round for Hendon Hooker, who most likely will not play this year. But I'm looking at all three of those teams and all three have said futures. And I think Hendon Hooker this is where it starts to get interesting, the dynamic of drafting him for the weight versus play right now.
Yeah, but all they have is Sam Howell. That's the only quarterback they have on the team right
Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, but either of those guys are not
in Washington.
But either of those guys are not going to lead that team anywhere special.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, that alludes to what I'm trying to say here.
Exactly.
Is right now we're getting to a point now where Hendon Hooker, you start looking at some of these later teams who are borderline playoff teams looking to make that push, but not necessarily in a hurry to get this impact player. I look at the Commanders' defensive line. When healthy, is one of the league's best. You got Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, our guy John Payne. Yeah. I mean, my God, like that defensive line is stacked. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying they're gonna, but I think it's something to keep an eye on.
I have Joey Porter Jr. mocked here to Washington at 16. But Russell, you were the GM.
Yep. Yeah, I like them going with the pass rusher that could run out of the gym. That will probably, when you look at him, he's only 200. I mean, he's an edge rusher that's only 238 pounds. I think that he'll convert to a linebacker. They need a linebacker. So I'm going to go ahead and take Nolan Smith, edge rusher from Georgia for the Washington Commanders.
Man, that guy's going to kill it in this league. I can't wait. I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah.
That's a guy I wouldn't mind at 18 for the Lions, honestly.
110%.
Yeah.
That puts the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock at 17, and that makes me Mike Tomlin. And I have them taking an offensive tackle here in my mock, but so far in this mock, all the good offensive tackles are off the board. So I think they might go tight end here. I think Pittsburgh might go tight end. They got Freiermuth, but not with a first-round pick. I don't know. I'm completely lost now. My board's been shattered.
You know who they're going to take.
Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter Jr. Easy.
Gotta be.
Of course. Of course. Joey Porter Jr. I've heard they're clamoring for him there in Pittsburgh as well.
I set it up too. I was going to take him at Washington. I'm like, nah, I think that we're going to let this whole Cinderella thing play out.
That's the pick.
There you go.
The pick is in.
Yeah.
All right.
17th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers select Joey Porter Jr., cornerback from Penn State.
Wow.
And that puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock.
That puts the Detroit Lions on the clock.
Oh, Detroit Lions. Sorry, I skipped that because it's a group one. My bad. So I like Kalijah Kancey here, guys. What do you think?
I'm a huge fan of Kancey. You guys have all heard my spiel for him. I love the pass rushing prowess from the interior.
Yeah.
That being said, Jalen Carter, you guys, I know that At 18, I really think it comes down between those two guys. Both of them bring that pass rush ability that is such a coveted skill set from your interior. You know, you bring that pass rushing prowess from the interior, it transforms your edge players into even better pass rushers. I don't think you could go with both guys in terms of talent. I think it's the character concern that pops up with Carter at this point, man.
Yeah.
So are you taking Carter or are you not taking Carter?
I'm going to go with Kancey.
Okay. So
what do you like, Will, for the Lions at 18?
All the best wide receivers are off the board. Bijan Robinson's off the board. Nolan Smith is now off the board. And the Lions addressed the defensive backfield with their first pick at 6, according to us, with no trade backs and no scenarios. So I'm going to overreach because I'm not high on the Carter train. I think Kancey is too much risk to very high reward if he works out. I'm not a U of M guy, but I'm taking Mazi Smith.
Wow, Mazi Smith for Detroit at 18.
Huge reach, only because of our scenario today and what we're doing, but I think that Mazi is going to stack up well against Carter when they both get on the field, and I think that people are going to be pleasantly surprised in what Smith is going to be able to bring under a regime like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, where he's going to be able to really put his nose to the grindstone and get mean with it. The guy is just he's on the freaks list, and he's an animal. I mean, he works out with 325. You know, you go to the combine and you're pushing up 225, 30 some odd times. It's easy for him. That strength, that push is what we need in the middle. Somebody that can hold a tackle and a guard and, you know, allow somebody else to get around him. That's my take. But
okay.
It's a group effort. You guys will weigh me out, I'm sure.
So I got Kalijah Kancey, and Greg kind of agreed with that. Russ, what do you like for 18?
I didn't want Jalen Carter at 6. I would never. I would let that go right on by. Watch that parade go right on by. But if that parade came back around for a second lap, I couldn't pass up on the talent the second time around. I mean, for every reason that Will alluded to for picking Mazi Smith, why not have the best talent in the draft that falls to you at 18? Like, it would fall into your hands, and you got to work with them. You know, we have the best coaching staff that preaches the best culture. He ain't gonna come in here and try any crazy stuff. I think if we drafted him at 18, that it could be a franchise altering move for the amount of talent that it is. So my pick would be Jalen Carter.
If Jalen Carter did come to Detroit, all he has to do is drive down I-75, and it's like a racetrack anyway. So everybody's doing 80 miles an hour, bumper to bumper. It's a Michigan
with
joke
potholes.
there, Greg. Sorry.
No, I've heard it. I've seen it.
Yeah. So, it is ridiculous. We build them here and we drive the hell out of them. So
I like it.
But that's 2 votes for Kancey.
Yeah, it's 2 votes. So the consensus is the best defensive tackle available right now is what we're seeing here.
Yeah,
and I could agree. I mean, I see Russ's point too, that we do have an amazing culture and we do have an amazing coaching staff. Carter's probably going to get faced with a lot of pressure from it. And
he got passed on 17 times.
I just, if he's not going to get picked in the top 10, because right now he's not taking anything outside of a top 10 interview, he's going to slide, and he's going to continue to slide. I think teams are going to let him, go to the second round where he's going to get a 4-year contract worth $5 million.
Ooh, I hated that. Where his agent Drew Rosenhaus said, if you don't have a top 10 pick, we're not even going to bring him into your building. What? Come on.
It only matters if you're talented like he is. That's the thing. It's like,
well, you know what? At 18, you got guys like Brian Breesa. You got Miles Murphy still available.
Yeah.
These are also Lucas Van Ness hasn't been drafted yet in our draft. Do you like any of these guys? Anyone like any of these guys?
Actually, who I'd like to throw my hat in for is Brian Brees. Say it for me.
Bresee.
Brad Bresee.
Yeah. I'm not sold on him. Look, I'm not the thinnest guy in the world at 42 years old anymore, but he's carrying a lot of body fat. Who knows how hard he's working right now? He was
some injury history too.
Yeah,
I mean,
he looked a little slow in his workouts and his
I'm
highlights.
just looking at, like, if we're looking at this, I'm just throwing in who's kind of here.
Yeah.
Let me, if I can get it in here. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get good at this. But yeah, when you bring I just, these are the top guys that are there, I like the Cansey pick. I mean, I've picked them at 18 a million times, but we've never had Jalen Carter there too.
Like I said last night, my dream scenario is that the Saints are going to want to move up to 18 and be that option for the Lions to trade back and take a Mozzie Smith at 29. And if that happens, and if Cansey's there at 18, I'm all aboard that train, taking 2 defensive tackles back to back.
I like
Right.
it.
Yeah, you're not getting too much love from Leo over here, so y'all choose already.
All right,
Okay.
Leo, we will.
Yeah, it's our pick. We take a little bit longer on that.
We're gonna go with Kalijah Cansey, and I'll tell you why. Because Brad Holmes was in charge of drafting Aaron Donald. They went to the same college. They have the same measurables. We need a guy like Aaron Donald would be the perfect complement to our defensive line. So if Kalijah Cansey turns out to be nearly as good as Aaron Donald, I think it's a great pick here at 18. That's the pick. Detroit takes Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle from the University of Pittsburgh. That puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock at 19. Who they got? Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. And who was the last one? So Greg Rice, you are Tampa. You are Rich McKay.
Oh, is he Tampa? Okay.
So they need tight end, offensive line, defensive interior, safety, and quarterback.
So look, I'm sitting there and I'm Tampa Bay right now. I'm sitting there with Trask, sitting there with Mayfield, and I'm like, is this going to work out? Look at the state of my division. This might be the weakest division in the NFL. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reach and I'm going to take Hendon Hooker. And you know what? We're going to be competitive. We're going to be competitive in this division, regardless. I like what Atlanta has done. They are my sneaky dark horse pick this year in the NFC, in a very weak NFC conference. But I'm going to go ahead and pick up Hendon Hooker, and I'm going to take my chances there because I know, you know what? Even if it doesn't work out for us this year, we got something going on in the future with Mike Evans and Godwin.
All right. Greg Rice picks up a hooker.
Would be the first
19, time. At 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Hendon Hooker, and I love that pick, Greg. I'll tell you why, because Baker Mayfield's the perfect placeholder quarterback.
Yes.
He's got Mike Evans out there. He's got Godwin. He's got some weapons he can throw through. The young back, Rashad White's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. I think they can win enough games to be competitive in a weak division while Hendon Hooker heals his knee injury, and they might be getting the best quarterback in this draft at pick 19. Moving on, that puts Will Rock on the clock. You are John Schneider and Pete Carroll in Seattle at number 20. You've already taken Tyree Wilson at 5. Where are you going at 20?
So the Seahawks have addressed the defense early, and looking at their depth chart, they have Noah Fant, they have Will Dissly, they don't have much behind them. I don't think that either one of those. I mean, Noah Fant, he could do a few things in the league. He's a consistent tight end. But for me, I think that Seattle's going to look for a game changer. There's no real good options at wide receiver this early or late in the first round, right? So Dalton Kincaid goes to Seattle. Going to be one of the best tight ends in the league.
I like it. I actually have Dalton Kincaid mocked right here in this spot. That was the pick on my mock, so I like it. That puts 21, the Los Angeles Chargers on the clock. Russell Wayne, you are the Bolts. What are you going to do here at 21?
All right, so
better address that defense.
Well, linebacker, cornerback. I'm going to give them one of my favorite players in the draft, and they do need a cornerback, so I'm going to give them Deonte Banks from Maryland.
Ooh.
I love the size. I mean, I love the mirror ability. The fact that he can just stick. He play like sticky glue. He can go move for move with everybody. I like him for the Lions at 18 too. But no, I'm going to go with Deonte Banks for the Chargers. Cornerback, Maryland.
And there it is. And that puts me on the clock with the Baltimore Ravens. I am Ozzie Newsome, one of Russ's all-time favorite tight ends. I am Ozzie Newsome at the Baltimore Ravens at 22. I need some help with this pick, guys. What do you like here for Baltimore?
So it says here that they need wide receiver, edge, and cornerback, according to PFF.
They did just lose Ben Powers, and Osiris Torrance has that Baltimore Ravens traditional offensive line bully power. I personally love Torrance here for them. I think it's a natural fit. But God, Lamar Jackson needs weapons. What do you do? I'm kind of in a dilemma with you, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, the only weapon they have is a tight end, and that's the best offensive weapons available here at this particular pick. I could definitely see Baltimore, if the draft were to fall like this with all those receivers gone already, that really puts them in a spot. I'm going to have to go with cornerback, at least go shore up the defense in some way. They need defensive end. Maybe the kid from Northwestern, Adetomiwa Adebawore Gesundheit. That's the pick right there for the Baltimore Ravens. It's defensive end from Northwestern, Adetomiwa Adebawore. Where's our ringer so I can get past that? That's the hooked on phonics signal there. All right, number 23, Minnesota Vikings. Skol! On the clock. At 23, Greg Rice, you get to pick for the Vikings. And boy, you know Jamez is watching. What are you going to pick for our good friends of the North?
Don't do anything Quezzy.
So, look, I'll try not to. Let's trade down and get less talent. More less talent. No, I know Asamoah showed some push last year, showed some talent, flashed a little bit. But, man, you just lost Kendricks. You lost your commander of the field, man. Who else but to bring in here seems more natural? It's a bit of a reach, and I know they're devalued. They're becoming the running back of defense, but Jack Campbell seems like such a natural fit here. This is kind of, in my opinion, do-it-all guy. Maybe not the best in pass coverage, but neither was Kendricks necessarily. I'm going to go with Jack Campbell, give Flores some help on that front seven, which they tried to revamp by bringing in Davenport as well. I think Jack Campbell's kind of natural here.
There it is. Jack Campbell, linebacker, goes to the Minnesota Vikings. That puts the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Jacksonville Jaguars went from worst to first, won their division after having the first overall pick in last year's draft, and actually won a playoff game in one of the most thrilling, greatest comebacks I've ever seen, or greatest collapses I've ever seen, whichever side you're looking at it from, I suppose. Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock at 24, and Will Rock, you are picking. You are Doug Peterson.
So I should probably know a little bit more about the Panthers other than what their running backs did to the Lions last year.
The Jaguars.
I'm sorry. I got the Jaguars, not the Panthers.
Yeah.
My bad. So for the Jaguars, I ended up going with the guy who probably should have been taken a little bit earlier, and that is Myles Murphy. Clemson.
It's a good pick.
That is a good pick.
They don't need much help. They don't need much help in the offense right now. I mean, they could use an extra wide receiver, but the Jaguars, they're sitting tight right now on offense. They need a defensive guy to come in and break it up and give them that push that they're missing.
Evan Ingram had a breakout season at tight end last year for him. So I don't think they're in the market for a Luke Musgrave or something, but that's where I have them mocked. But I love the pick, Myles Murphy, defensive end to Jacksonville. That puts the New York Giants on the clock, and that is Russ Wayne. You are Brian Daboll, the thinner version. Tell me, what do you like for the G-Men at 24?
It's the G-Men are on the clock. And, since they are so awesome at getting wide receiver help, and, they got Kenny Galladay to come in and have 5 catches for $84 million. So I think that they are going to go wide receiver, and they are going to take Zay Flowers out of Boston College.
I like it. Good pick.
Tell us about Zay Flowers, Greg.
Zay Flowers. What was that?
What are they getting in New York out of Zay Flowers?
Well, they're in my opinion immediately getting wide receiver one. You're looking at a guy, yeah, he's kind of short, yeah, he's kind of slot-ish, but if you look at the way that offense is ran with a lot of RPOs and stuff, they can get a lot of action with Zay Flowers, up the middle of the field. I think it's a home run. I think it's a natural fit, and that was essentially my pick. And Russ kind of just hit everything on the note, except for the Kenny Golladay thing that he was being a little facetious about. But they need help at wide receiver. Danny Dimes and Saquon Barkley. Look, it was a Disney story they wrote last year with not much help. Sterling Shepard coming in and whatever people, Bellinger, they were picking up off the practice squad. But they need someone that could come in and really push that wide receiver room. I think Zay Flowers is a natural pick there.
Well, I don't like this pick because Zay Flowers is essentially Wan'Dale Robinson. They're basically the same player. And the Giants did get Harris Campbell coming in. So there's an addition, too, and Darius Slayton.
Okay.
So I just don't like that pick there. But that's the pick. Giants, Zay Flowers, wide receiver from Boston College, takes it downstate.
Have you liked any of my picks? Seems like every time I get done, let me tell you why that's not good. Let me tell you why that's not good.
You like that?
I love it, Mike.
Well, am I obligated to like your picks?
No, you don't have to. No. Stop playing.
I like your pick. I like your pick for host of the show.
But they are who we thought they were. You guys are great.
Puts me on the clock at 26, and I am Jerry Jones.
That's what you get. You get
my
to be
worst,
Jerry Jones.
most hated team that I hate. No team worse than the Cowboys, but I got to pick for them, and I'm going to take tight end Michael Mayer from Notre Dame to replace Dalton Schultz and give Dak Prescott and his clay ankle another weapon to throw to. So Michael Mayer, tight end, goes to the Dallas Cowboys at 26.
Is he related to John Mayer?
No. Or Mayor Aspen. That puts Greg Rice on the clock. You are on the clock. You are the Buffalo Bills, and you are on at 27. What do you like?
Oh God, what running backs is Gibbs up there? Who do we have at running back? Look, I know.
I'll bring him up right there. There you go. Here's your top running back.
Gibbs is definitely up there right now.
It's a bit of a reach, and so is Charbonnet. But man, they just lost Singletary. Look, I know they brought in Damien Harris, and I like Damien Harris. The year before last, PFF had him as a top 10 running back. They let's see here. They did just lose a linebacker, but even at linebacker, it's a bit of a reach, man. Who do we got on the big board? BPA, Russ. I'm sorry to do this to you.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Let's
Gibbs and Charbonnet seemed like such a good.
Jalen Carter's still on the board.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Lucas Van Ness.
Brian
Brisa.
I mean, look at this point. I mean, is Jalen Carter a bad pick? I mean, he's going into a good environment. Look, McDermott knows what he's doing, except come playoff time. You want to beef up that front seven that did just lose their best line, well, maybe possibly second best linebacker behind Matt Milano. God, I really want to say Jalen Carter paired next to Ed Oliver. God, that's got to be a nightmare. Yeah, give me Jalen Carter.
All right, there we go. Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter still gets taken in the first round.
27 overall to the Buffalo Bills. That's a good situation for a guy like him. There's too much ice and snow in Buffalo to go drag racing, so that might be a good fit.
Hey, give him a review there, Mike. L. Jackson wants to know, and we picked we got Devin Witherspoon. I mean, really, we didn't have any trades, so we selected Devin Witherspoon at 6 and Kancey at 18. Definitely made our Lions better. So we are at what? Pick 28?
28.
We are at pick 28. Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. And who's got the torch?
That would be Will.
No, Greg went, so it'll be Will. You're right. Yep. Cincinnati Bengals, Will, you're on the clock.
So I'm kind of doubling down here on the Greg Rice pick. I would have taken a different guy than Greg only because he's available. But I'm going to take a massive lane clogging lineman who brings impressive blend of power and quickness, considering his massive size and ability to bench 325 pounds with ease. I'm taking Mozzie Smith, Cincinnati Bengals. They may not need him right away, but he's going to make a huge impact for the Bengals this season.
I would agree with that. It's a great pick. Paired next to Hendrickson, ooh-wee. That'll help him out a boatload.
Ooh-wee.
That puts the New Orleans Saints on the clock. Russ, you are Mickey Loomis, the GM for the Saints, and they've got a new quarterback in town, and Derek Carr, and they got a new running back in town, and Jamal Williams. You return Chris Olave, Michael Thomas coming off of injury. What do you like at 29 for New Orleans?
I mean, their needs being anything. I mean, a couple offensive linemen right there, guard, center, defensive line, cornerback. Defensive line cornerbacks kind of been picked through a little bit here. So I'm going to go with the best guard on the board in Osiris Torrance, and the New Orleans Saints select Torrance at number, where we're at, number 29.
All right. I like that pick.
I do too. Him and Ryan Ramczyk.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Him and Ryan Ramczyk. I mean, if they get Torrance there, that's immediately one of the best guard duels in the NFL, in my opinion.
Can you scroll down a little bit on the big board there, Russ? And that puts me on the clock at 30. I am the Philadelphia Eagles. I am Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs in the business. And I actually have Philadelphia taking Will McDonald here, the edge rusher from Iowa State, but I'm not so sure as I'm looking at this big board here. They took Bijan Robinson in this draft with a running back. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They also lost Javon Hargraves on the defensive line. But they did draft Jordan Davis last year, so his replacement was already in the building, right? I think they're set on offense now. They're going to have to go defense. I'm going to stick with the pick. Will McDonald had a farm, and that farm was in Philadelphia, the defensive tackle from Iowa State to the Eagles. And that puts the last pick in the main event, Mock Draft 2.0, Round 1, the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, and Greg Rice, the West Coast stat master. You get the final pick in the draft. The rich get richer. What do the Kansas City Chiefs take at 31?
Well, I don't think Frank Clark re-signed with the Chiefs or is signed with anybody yet. I'm looking at someone to come off the edge to pair with Chris Jones, and I'm looking at Luca Van Ness as like, he just seems like a what's his last name? Not Sapano. What's his last name?
Karlaftis.
No, the Spagnolia. It just seems like you pair Karlaftis, thank you for that, as well as Chris Jones, and you bring me Luca Van Ness off the edge. Paired with a young budding rookie that they had last year in Leo Chanel, Nick Bolton, obviously, too. I think it really just kind of solidifies that front seven. Give me Luca Van Ness.
I love that pick.
I love that pick.
Especially Karlaftis showed a lot of promise. You get value at 31. Brett Veach, the GM for Kansas City, he's a shrewd guy too. He made some awesome offseason moves and draft last year. Obviously brought home another Lombardi trophy. So I love that pick. Van Ness to the Chiefs at 31. So that wraps it up, guys. Anything to add so far for the Lions at 6? We got Devin Witherspoon and Kalijah Kancey. Definitely two impact players. Maybe these off-season free agency moves mean the Lions won't go corner with the number 6 pick, but you have to remember 2 of those guys are on 1-year deals, right? Emmanuel Mosley, he's also coming off an injury. There's no guarantee there. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson also on a 1-year deal. So I definitely think they add to that CB room in this draft. Whether that's at 6 or not remains to be seen. Personally, guys, I think that Brad Holmes might take Anthony Richardson. I feel it in my gut. Any thoughts on that?
It's funny. People are bringing up quarterbacks this early, and there's something that triggered me a couple weeks ago on a Sunday night. I was listening to Brad Holmes talk at the Combine again, where he had mentioned that maybe these free agent quarterbacks are not going to be ready to sign by the draft. And when he said that, it kind of just passed it off like, yeah, it's just the way the NFL works. They may not be ready. And then free agency came and went, and we didn't sign anybody.
Yeah.
And it was about another week and a half later or whatever it was that they signed Sudfeld finally. And it clicked. And it was like, he said that, and it's almost like he's throwing smoke screens up to kind of say, hey, I'm taking a quarterback, or we only need 2 impact players out of this draft, but I've got 5 in the top 81. That doesn't make any sense to me either. If you've got 5 in the top 81, you're going to get more than 2 impact players this year. He got 5 last year, and some of those guys were in the 6th round. So just by the way that he's mincing words and he's talking one way one week and a different way the next week, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't take a quarterback early in this draft. But I definitely think he's going to take one by the 3rd round and take Hendon Hooker if he's still there. That's my guy. Hendon Hooker's my guy for the Lions. Whether he gets taken in the 1st round, like Greg Rice has alluded to an opportunity for a few teams there, it's yet to be seen. But Holmes is taking a quarterback somewhere. I don't see him getting out of this draft for UDFA without one.
They've shown a lot of interest in Aiden O'Connell from Purdue. Go ahead, Russ.
I was just gonna throw this round about the. Hendon Hooker went 19 in this draft right here. Would you have any objections with the Lions taking him at 18 and getting that 5th year option thrown in there, even though you're not going to have him at all the first year?
I'm not worried about having Hendon Hooker the first year. He's hurt, and he's got to. You want him to rest. You don't want him to be pressured, and that also gives a unique opportunity for Goff not to have pressure because the guy's coming in with an injury.
Yep.
So he's coming in. He's going to play. He's not even worried about it. So, but I would object to the 18th pick only because it's too early. I think that Hooker's going to be there at least in the 2nd round, and the 5th year option is unique too. You have that extra year, but you can always extend them later. Depending on how he's playing. So
I agree. I mean, but that is the absolute only reason that you would draft him in the 1st round. I mean, obviously you're not going to want him to play. You don't want him to take, Goff or make Goff feel uncomfortable or anything. So you only take it because you want that 5th year. That's the only downfall to waiting a year and then only having 3 years left as opposed to 4. And
I can't help but seeing how poetic it would be as well if through the Matthew Stafford trade with the 6th pick that they got from the Rams, that they take the quarterback of the future, a high character guy. Yeah. I mean, how poetic would that be? I love Hendon Hooker. I mean, just the interviews I've heard, the things that people are saying about him, his stats are phenomenal. Only 2 interceptions, 27-2 were his stats before the injury. If it weren't for the injury, he'd be in the top 5 probably. Agreed. And that's the kind of thing Brad Holmes was looking for. He's got a torn ACL. He was made to be a Lion, I guess.
Well, the thing is I think he would have been a top 3 pick in this draft if he wasn't injured. People say, well, he's 25. So what? He also played 5 years in college where the rest of these guys only got 2 seasons. So he's more mature. He's more experienced. I'd rather take somebody that's more mature anyway. And maybe that means that he doesn't need to sit 2 years. Maybe he only has to sit 1, where these other guys, they might have to sit 2 years. They're going to be 25 or 24 before they hit the field anyway.
Yeah.
But, is there really any franchise quarterbacks outside of Stroud in this draft? I just don't see it. I don't see Will Levis. Surefire. I really don't see it. I don't see Will Levis being one. I don't see Bryce Young being one. I see Stroud being the only option because he has the measurables and he has some good experience, and he's not playing on an old OSU team. He's playing on a different type of an OSU team that might be breeding quarterbacks for the future.
Yeah, but the physical tools that Anthony Richardson brings to the table, well,
they're insane.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy could redefine the position if he turns out to be, this guy could be a game changer.
He could be another running back playing quarterback too.
True.
But we got to see him pass the ball with
full into
accuracy.
the spectrum. I like what both you're saying, and not to throw a curveball into this, you guys, but I mean, I'll just point it out now. I know all of us doing our mock drafts, we love the trade back. Look, we got 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. I could easily see Brad Holmes jumping up and grabbing someone who he really covets and really wants to be a part of this team. We've seen it last year with Jameson Williams, and I have no problem with it. If If you want to go get your guy that you for sure want to bring on the squad, that impact player, I'm okay with parting with an extra second rounder or packaging up both our second rounds to get back into the late first. So I'll just throw that out there too, guys.
That's the Mozzie Smith angle that I see being played with. If Holmes likes Smith, everyone knows that he's gone between 26 and 32, and we don't have a pick between 18 and 48. So if the Lions move back into the first, I hope they move back into the top 28 and take Smith. If they don't take Carter at 6. There's options. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's nice to be a Lions fan with options. We don't have options all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Good
but that's
point, Will.
because the chef cooked the good stuff up. I mean, if he hadn't have made all of those moves in free agency, and I do believe that CJ Chauncey Johnson was the
home run.
That was the one that pushed me over the edge for saying, Brad was saying the rebuild's over. We're not rebuilding anymore. Now we are just piling talent on top of talent. And we're 2 players away, but 1 player away. Like, we have 5 picks. Like, I agree with that sentiment right there. And you take a guy like Anthony Richardson, I think people forget that he's a 250-pound dude that can run a 4.4, whether he plays quarterback or not. That dude's a weapon. That dude's going to be a weapon year 1. He's not going to sit on anybody's bench anywhere.
Exactly.
If he gets picked number 1, they're going to be running RPOs all day long in Carolina as they go through. I mean, he was the 7th or he was the 11th ranked player before the draft. So that can't be. This isn't a Malik Willis type of situation. It isn't a 4th round dude that all of a sudden was put into 1st round consideration. This was a 1st round dude that got bumped up a couple spots because he ran a good 40, but he was already there. He was already one of the top players.
I thought Richardson was the 8th or 9th ranked quarterback back in January.
No, I tracked this thing all the way through the year. It went up and down. And PFF wise, he never left the top 20. And overall players, like, in everything. And it's
a team could always bring the wishbone back, and they can throw 2 running backs in the backfield. I mean, he'll do fine back there.
The dude hit the ceiling throwing a pass during his pro day, didn't he? Wasn't he trying to go deep?
But he said he did that because Levis did it. He said he did come out and say he did it because Levis did it. But no, I see you guys, and I see both sides of the spectrum.
After he got done celebrating, it's like, man, this guy is just like
something special. I see the athletic ability. Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe he'll join the circus if he can't make it in football. I mean, you can.
True.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we'd like to thank everyone for wrapping up and remind you that we will be doing a live draft special on April 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have special guests and analysis as well as every pick as it comes in and relay it to the public as long as it's legal. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Be sure to go over to our Facebook page. It's Main Event 365. Over to our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe our content. That is the fuel that keeps this thing going. We appreciate all of you. For Russell Wayne and our headliner panel, I'm Main Event Mike. God bless each and every one of you. Peace out.
Peace out.
Yeah, that interception never gets old. Tight end